Well, thank you for joining us here at the Interfaith Community Spiritual Center here in Mesa, Arizona, for the first meeting of the Differently Abled Network. I'm Dr. Danita Applewhite, and I'm here today just so happy that there are a number of people in this particular center that are interested in reaching out in their community to identify who is unserved by benefits, by the factor of not being able to socialize, and reaching out to them to bring them into the center and let them know that whatever disability they have, that they are welcome here, whether it's a learning disability, mental disability, or physical disability. Today, one of the things that I would like to do is introduce my friend, okay, and hopefully co-presenter in many different arenas in the future. This is my brother, Ghazi. Ghazi is a very, very special person who has come through many things to get to a point where he could live authentically, okay? And authentically, to me, means basically keeping it real. Okay, is that a good way that I could say that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
so tell us a little bit about you, your background, and how you even came up with this authentically real. I think I read something in your book about your mom was always about being authentic.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I want to thank you first of all for inviting me. I have really enjoyed this discussion, really. And as I listened to the different definitions of disabilities and perceptions, one thing I didn't hear was people coming from prison.
Mm-hmm.
Because oftentimes we don't look at people coming from prison, returning citizens, as I call them, as people who have PTSD. You know, we can deal with people in the military. You can spend 7 years in Vietnam, and you come back and they have a whole system set up for you, psychiatrists, medications, services, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But you spend 7 years in prison, 4 years in solitary confinement, and come home and there's nothing for you.
Nothing.
You're supposed to be normal. You're supposed to function like nothing never happened. But you were 7 years away from love, away from compassion, away from human touch. That affects you. It affects you. And I'm talking from experience. 7 years, 48 months of solitary confinement. And you expect to come home and everything is peaches and cream. But it's not like that though. And society put barriers. There are barriers that you have to overcome to even make it like everybody else, you know.
So you can become disabled by your perceptions.
Oh, no doubt.
Okay, so if you think of yourself, you know, I'm still back there in that what was 48 months in solitary confinement.
Right.
Then that would be a way of you kind of enslaving your mind.
Right.
Okay,
I
not
call it
feeling free.
self-imposed prison.
Self-imposed prison.
Self-imposed
Ooh, I like
prison.
that.
You know, it's like the prison that we create for ourselves. And what we don't understand is that we come to a point, I came to a point that I had to realize that I was the parole board, the guards, and I had the key to let myself out of my own prison. But some of us, unfortunately, we sentence ourselves to 10 years behind a self-imposed prison. Some of us, unfortunately, put ourselves life without parole behind a self-imposed prison. Some of us, even worse, we sent ourselves to death row behind a self-imposed prison. And we died, bottled in, restricted by something that we created ourselves. I've done that for many years. But now I'm free.
Yes.
I unlock the door myself,
Okay.
you know. And now the kind of work I do, I go and talk to a lot of young people who are called so-called at-risk youth and disconnected youth or disadvantaged youth, and try to show them that you got the key, you know. That
The key.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
key. We have a Reverend Julianne Lewis today, who's the pastor for the Interfaith Spiritual Community Center. Okay. She talked about this key today and using the key to unlock our creative energy.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and this is what I'm hearing from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that being authentic was something that you had to work through. It wasn't like you all of a sudden said, you know, I'm just going to keep it real, and then you were able to take off whatever mask that you wear, and you were able to be non-hypocritical, I guess. It was a process. So how, when did it start?
Well, I would say for me, so I went to prison at 16 years old, so I was still in high school. Got out when I was 24, and I have 9 children now. I had one daughter before I went to prison. She's 30 years old now. And when I got out of prison, I had a baby every year for the first 4 years by 2 different women. I always joke and say I had to make up for lost time.
Well, it sounds like it, brother.
Yeah, and, but they about 2 different women. But God blessed me to get custody of them 4 children. I don't know how that happened. It wasn't planned like that, but circumstances made it like that. And I would say, I believe that God blessed me with custody of my children to reawaken in me that humanity that prison took from me. Because I became cold-hearted. I didn't care about nothing or nobody when I was in there. Because wasn't nobody there for me. I didn't get visits. I didn't get money on my books. I didn't get a lot of letters and nothing like that. Very few letters from a few of my sisters. Other than that, I was like a sheep amidst wolves. So I had to survive the best way I knew how. 9 different prisons. I was shipped around 9 different times, different prisons. And people were on death row, life without parole. I seen all kinds of violence. So I was there in the midst of that, so I became cold. But when I got my children, I had to, once again, become compassionate to somebody other than myself.
That love bug.
I had to hold my daughter, and I had to change Pampers, and I had to go to daycare and doctor visits.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, and it's like, the gangster got to do all this kind of stuff.
Right,
you know, they
right.
got to change my whole mind.
Change your perception.
Change my perception. And that, to me, was the journey of breaking free. It was the beginning. And it was a 24 years, it's been over 20 years now. I got out in 1995, so it's been 23 years that I've been home and thinking about returning back there and helping a lot of other young people. But that was the beginning of a process for me, and it was very spiritual.
You know what you bring to mind, the whole reason that we're doing this Differently Abled Network is just a little bit about what you just said just now. It's like breaking free from the chains, those invisible chains, of saying, you know, I can't do anything. I don't have the ability to do things because of my past, because of the traumas that I've been through. And you're saying that you were able to change that.
Oh, no doubt. And I'm gonna tell you something. It's funny because right now I do like motivational speaking, and I was at ASU when I was speaking.
Great.
So I heard the young lady say that she drives private transit. I have my truck out there actually right now, and so I do the same thing day to day. And but I was at ASU speaking at a school, busing up the school to prison pipeline, and it was like packed capacity, you know, packed crowd. And one of the young ladies, when I was on stage presenting, I had my little suit and tie on, and there was a lady there and her mother. She's like, "That look like the cab driver." And her mom was saying, like, "There you go, cab driver." And so she seen me in my suit and tie. I'm up there with the microphone, I'm talking, and she's like, "That can't be the cab driver." You know? And so here I am when they got to me. She said, "Excuse me, sir, but my daughter think you." I said, "Yeah, that's me." You know? And one thing it taught me, like one person asked me, they say, "How you up here? Everybody on the panel had doctorate degrees except me. The only formal education I have is a GED that I got from penitentiary. A lot of book knowledge. I've read thousands of books, and book reading is my favorite
Oh
habit.
my God, I can tell.
I have 5 books in my cab right now. I just love to read. I'm always consuming information, right? So, but I don't have a lot of formal education. So people ask me, "How are you up here with people who got doctorate degrees?" And I say, by the grace of God, you know, only by His grace, in truth, and being consistent and being persistent, and finally taking the mask off myself, you know, because I had the image. I grew up in an environment where everybody hustled. This is a handicap, or can be perceived as a handicap or some form of disability. When you grew up in an environment where everybody hustled, I'm talking about my mother, drug dealer, gold teeth, pistols, Cadillacs, uncles, cousins, everybody. So you grow up thinking that that's normal. So to somebody else to come in and say, "You abnormal," I'm like, "What? Everybody do this." At least in my neighborhood, at least where I'm from. Because most times you're in that area, you don't travel outside of those perimeters. You don't travel outside of those limits right there.
Wow.
So,
We're normal.
That hits on a subject that we were talking about. Sometimes you can be disabled just by your environment that you live in. And I was just wondering if you could just go back for a minute at 16 years old and knowing a little bit about what I do about the system, the so-called judicial system, is that at 16 years old, I'm just wondering if you experienced some of the same things that many of the young men that I've worked with have said, that they didn't get along very well in school, either socializing or with the academic pressure, okay? And so therefore, and depending on their family environment, they decided on a different style of life,
Right.
okay? But they never felt that they could really reach an academic success level, okay? Was that something that was there for you? at
Yeah, like
16?
the academic part was never really my problem. I was just delinquent, you know, to be honest. I was always smart, and I could always read, right? I have a twin brother. We were like total opposites. He couldn't read that well. He had really a lot of trouble academically. I was the opposite. But he had trouble academically, but he was on the football team. He went to carnations and graduations. I was going to juvenile at the time. You know, I was fighting and carrying guns and wanna, you know, I had a propensity toward the streets. But so he and I was, and then as we grow older, we kind of flip script, like, you know, now he's kind of wild right now, you know, and I'm the one calm down and things like that. And I always say I got up out of my system at an early age.